Throwaway, I'm a single dad. And I made the biggest mistake of my life. Part 1. I don't usually post on Reddit. I lurk. I read your stories, the drama, the weird coincidences, the am I the A*** hole threads. But I never thought I'd be here, typing this out on a throwaway account because I'm not sure what else to do. I don't even know if I want advice, or just someone to tell me I'm not the monster I feel like right now. I'm a single dad to an 8-year-old girl named Emily. She's my whole world. People always say that, but in my case, it's literal. My ex-wife left when Emily was 3. I got full custody because, long story short, she didn't really want to be a mom. She moved across the country, calls once a year, maybe. I don't badmouth her to Emily, but the truth is, it's been just me for the past 5 years. And I was doing okay. Not perfect, God, not perfect, but okay. We had our routines, cereal together in the morning while she watches cartoons, bedtime stories, I do voices, and yes, she laughs at how ridiculous they are, walks to the park on Saturdays. I work as a mechanic, so money isn't amazing, but we get by. I thought I was a decent dad. Until 2 months ago. It started small. That's the thing, big mistakes almost never start big. They sneak in. They feel like nothing at first. Emily came home from school one day with a crumpled permission slip for a special after-school program. She told me it was some new club they were trying out, STEM stuff, building little robots, experiments, that kind of thing. She was excited. I mean, bouncing off the walls excited. Problem: the program was on Wednesdays and Fridays until 5:30, and I usually pick her up right after work at 3:15. My shop is small. My boss, nice guy, but not the flexible type, already puts up with me ducking out for school events. I didn't want to push it. But Emily's face when she talked about it. I couldn't say no. So I said I'd figure it out. Best dad ever, she said, hugging me so hard my ribs popped. Yeah, that's me. Best dad ever. I arranged for one of the other parents, a woman named Karen, yeah, I know, but she's actually nice, to pick Emily up on those days and drop her at home. Karen's son, Oliver, is in the same class. Problem solved. For a while, it was fine. Emily came home talking about circuits and solar-powered cars and a volcano that didn't explode but looked cool anyway. She seemed brighter. Happier. I was proud. Then I met him. The club was run by a volunteer named Mike. Early 40s, clean-cut, the type of guy you'd expect to see coaching Little League. I met him when I stopped by to pick Emily up myself one Friday. He seemed friendly, maybe a little too friendly. You know when someone gives off this vibe that they're trying just a bit too hard? That was him. Still, I brushed it off. Not everyone's social radar works the same. But after that day, Emily started talking about Mike a lot. Mike says I'm really good at building stuff. Mike says I should be an engineer when I grow up. Mike says he can show me how to fix your car. I should have been happy she had a mentor. I should have just trusted it. But there was something in my gut. Some flicker of discomfort I couldn't name. And then, one Wednesday, I was late getting home from work. Karen texted she dropped Emily off, so I figured she was inside. When I walked in, though, the house was quiet. TV off. No sound of her singing to herself like she usually does when she plays. I found her in the kitchen, sitting at the table with Mike. He smiled when he saw me, casual as anything. Hey, man. Emily said it was okay if I came by to show her this project. I remember freezing for half a second. I didn't remember giving him a key, he didn't have one, or inviting him over. But Emily looked so proud, showing me this little motor thing they'd built out of batteries and wires, that I didn't want to cause a scene. We talked for maybe 10 minutes. I walked him out. He was polite. But as soon as the door shut, my stomach was in knots. Did you invite him over, Em? Yeah. He said he could help me finish the project. We didn't do anything bad, Daddy. I told her I wasn't mad, but next time she needed to tell me before bringing someone home. She nodded, but she looked confused. Like she didn't get why I'd even care. That night, I couldn't sleep. It's hard to explain why I didn't act then. Part of me didn't want to be the overprotective, paranoid dad. Another part didn't want to upset Emily. She was finally so happy, and I didn't want to take that away. But over the next couple weeks, Mike kept popping up, dropping little hints about how he could help with things. Once, when I was picking Emily up, he mentioned he lived just a few streets away and said, "If you ever need a sitter, I'm around." I laughed it off, but my mind was already building scenarios I didn't want to think about. Then came the mistake. I was scheduled for an emergency job at the shop one Friday. Car wouldn't start, customer furious, boss desperate. I couldn't get out of it. Karen was out of town. My sister lives an hour away. I was running through my list of babysitting options and coming up empty. And then Emily said, "Mike can watch me." Every instinct screamed no. But she was looking at me with those big eyes, and the clock was ticking, and I was already late. So I called him. "Sure, man, no problem," he said. "I'll take good care of her." I told myself it was just for a couple hours. I told myself I was being ridiculous. I told myself he worked with kids all the time and the school wouldn't have him around if he wasn't safe. When I got home that night, Emily was sitting on the couch, drawing. Mike was in the kitchen, washing dishes. "All good?" I asked. "Great," he said, smiling. "She's a wonderful kid." He left. Everything seemed fine. But the next morning, Emily said something that made my blood run cold. She said, "Daddy, don't tell anyone about the secret game Mike showed me. Part 2 will be up soon. I need a minute before I write the rest." Throwaway, I'm a single dad. And I made the biggest mistake of my life. Part 2. When Emily said those words, "Don't tell anyone about the secret game Mike showed me," I swear, my brain just stopped. Like someone had cut the power. I remember sitting there at the breakfast table, holding my coffee mug, staring at her like she'd just spoken another language. My mind was doing somersaults. I wanted to scream, to grab the phone and call the police right then. But she was looking at me so innocently, like she had no idea why I'd just gone pale. What game, sweetie?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. She hesitated, eyes flicking down to her cereal. "Mike said it's just for special friends. If I tell, it's not fun anymore." I felt my chest tighten. Every warning I'd ever heard about predators, grooming, all of it was suddenly pounding in my ears. My gut was telling me to act now, but my brain was whispering, "Don't scare her. Don't make her shut down." So I asked, gently, "Can you tell Daddy about the game? I won't be mad. I promise." She thought for a long moment. Then she said, "It's just pretend. We pretend we're spies. And we have to keep secrets. Like if we're hiding treasure, or codes. Mike said it's good practice." It could have been innocent. Kids play pretend. But there was something about the way she repeated "keep secrets" that made my skin crawl. I told her we don't keep secrets from each other. Surprises, sure. But not secrets. She nodded, but it was the kind of nod that says, "Okay, Daddy," but doesn't mean agreement. The rest of the day, I was on edge. I couldn't shake the feeling. That night, after she went to bed, I did something I've never done before. I went through her backpack. I know, some parents do that all the time, but I've always tried to give her a sense of privacy. This felt wrong. But I needed to know. In one of the side pockets, I found a folded piece of paper with a bunch of numbers and symbols written on it. Looked like random scribbles to me. But at the bottom, in a kid's handwriting, "Top secret." The next day, I called the school under the pretense of asking about the after-school program. The woman who answered said Mike was a community volunteer who'd been helping out for about 6 months. No background check required since he wasn't staff, just a helper. That made my stomach drop. That afternoon, I told Emily I'd be picking her up from the program myself. When I arrived, Mike was there, crouched next to her, helping her glue something to a cardboard tower. He smiled at me, and for the first time, I didn't smile back. On the way home, I tried to bring it up again. So, about the secret game. She cut me off. Mike said you'd get mad if you knew. That was it for me. Alarm bells blaring. I told her, firmly, you can tell me anything, Em. Anything. I will never be mad at you for telling the truth. She didn't respond. Just stared out the window. That night, I decided I was going to have a direct conversation with Mike. No more passive crap. I wanted him to know I was watching. I wanted him to feel the heat. I showed up at the school on Wednesday before the program ended. Walked right into the classroom where they were working. The look on his face when he saw me, not fear exactly, but annoyance. Like I'd interrupted something important. Hey, Mike, I said, keeping my voice casual. Got a minute? He stepped outside with me. What's up? I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. I appreciate you helping out with Emily, but I don't want her keeping secrets from me. Ever. You understand? He chuckled. Of course, man. Kids just like to play pretend. Yeah, I said, but let's keep it to pretend that doesn't involve hiding things from her dad. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Not guilt. Not embarrassment. Something colder. Then he smiled again. Got it. I left feeling unsettled. I'd expected him to be defensive, maybe even apologetic. But that calm, easy tone, it was like he knew I couldn't touch him. Over the next week, I made sure Emily was never alone with him. I arranged my schedule so I could do all pickups myself. And it worked, until Friday. That Friday, I got stuck behind a wreck on the freeway. By the time I got to the school, it was almost 6. The classroom was empty. I found the janitor, who said, "Oh, Mike said he'd walk Emily home since you were running late." I swear, my vision went black for a second. I sprinted the 4 blocks to our house. Front door was unlocked. Inside, the TV was on. No Emily. I tore through the rooms, bedroom, bathroom, backyard. Nothing. And then I heard laughter from the garage. I yanked the door open. Emily was sitting on the floor, wearing a blindfold. Mike was kneeling in front of her, holding something small and shiny. When he saw me, he froze. What the hell is going on? I shouted. He held up the object, a toy compass. We're playing the spy game. I stepped between them. Out. Now. He looked like he might argue, but then he stood, smiled, again with that smile, and said, "Your kid's got a great imagination. See you around." When he left, I slammed the door and locked it. I sat Emily down and told her, as gently as I could, that Mike was not allowed near her anymore. She cried. Begged me not to make her quit the club. Said I was ruining everything. I told her I didn't care. That was the end of it. Except it wasn't. That night, I got a text from an unknown number, "You're making a mistake. She needs this." I didn't reply. But my hands were shaking. The next morning, there was an envelope on our front porch. Inside was a photo of Emily at the park, taken from a distance. No note. Just the photo. Part 3 will be the last one. And it's the hardest part for me to write. Throwaway, I'm a single dad. And I made the biggest mistake of my life. Part 3. I stared at that photo for a long time. My first thought was, when was this taken? My second, how the hell did it get here without me noticing? Emily was in the shot, swinging on the park swing, her hair flying out behind her. She looked happy. Carefree. Completely unaware that someone was watching her closely enough to get a perfectly framed shot. I checked the porch camera. Nothing. Which made no sense, I always keep it on. I scrolled through the feed and my stomach dropped. The footage between 1:15 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. was just gone. Like it had been erased. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the house made me tense. I sat in the living room with the porch light on, waiting, listening. Around 2 a.m., I thought I saw movement across the street, a shadow slipping behind the neighbor's hedge, but when I went to check, nothing. In the morning, I told Emily she wasn't going to the after-school program anymore. She argued, cried, stomped her feet. I didn't budge. I told her it wasn't safe. She asked why, and I said, because some people aren't who they pretend to be. She didn't talk to me the whole way to school. After drop-off, I went straight to the police. I showed them the photo, told them about Mike, about the secret game, the erased camera footage. The officer I spoke to took notes, nodded, and said they'd look into it. I asked about a restraining order. They said it'd be hard to get without proof of an actual crime. Proof. Like a photo of him with her blindfolded wasn't enough. They told me to call 911 if I saw him near her again. That was it. I started walking Emily to and from school every day. No more buses, no more pickups by other parents. I rearranged my work schedule, pissed off my boss, and took the pay cut. I didn't care. Every time we left the house, I scanned the street. Every time we came home, I checked the locks twice. 2 weeks went by. No Mike. No strange envelopes. I started to think maybe I'd scared him off. Then, one Tuesday, Emily didn't come out when the final bell rang. I waited 5 minutes, then 10. Kids streamed out, parents waved, the crowd thinned, no Emily. I ran inside. Her teacher said she'd left with her uncle. I don't have a brother. Neither does my ex. I don't even remember crossing the parking lot. I just know I was in my truck, driving like a maniac, checking every street around the school. My mind was pure static. Images of her in that garage. The photo. The erased footage. I spotted them 3 blocks away. Mike, walking fast, holding her hand. She wasn't struggling, but she looked confused. Like she didn't understand why I was there. I slammed the truck to a stop, jumped out, and yelled her name. Mike froze. Emily turned. And then, I'll never forget this, he smiled at me. Not surprised. Not afraid. Just smug. Like I was late to my own defeat. Emily, come here. I shouted. She hesitated for half a second. Then she ran to me. I put her in the truck, locked the doors, and turned back to him. If you ever come near her again, I'll... He cut me off. You think you're protecting her, but you're just keeping her from something she needs. You'll see. I called the police right there. They came, took statements. Mike was calm the whole time, telling them I was overreacting, and that Emily had invited him to walk her home. Without hard evidence of a crime, they let him go, again. That night, I barely spoke to Emily. I didn't know what to say. I kept replaying that smile in my head, over and over, until it felt burned into me. The next morning, she was gone. I woke up at 6 a.m. to an empty bed. Her bedroom window was open. No note. No sign of forced entry. I called 911. Within an hour, there were patrol cars, detectives, neighbors outside. They questioned me, my sister, the school staff. They put out an Amber Alert. It took 37 hours to find her. They found them in an old RV parked behind an abandoned warehouse 10 miles away. She was physically fine, unharmed, they said. But when I saw her, she didn't run to me. She just looked at me, quiet, like she wasn't sure which version of me she was getting. Mike was arrested on charges I'm not allowed to detail here because the case is still active. But I can say this, they found evidence on his devices. A lot of it. In the days after, I kept replaying that Friday. The day I let him babysit, just for a couple hours. That was the door I'd left open. That was the moment I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. Because that's when I'd given him permission. The police think he'd been grooming her for weeks before I caught on. That the secret game was just the beginning. And that, once I cut off his access, he decided to take her outright. I keep thinking, if I'd listened to my gut the first time I felt something off, if I'd pulled her from the club right then, if I'd been willing to be the paranoid dad earlier, maybe none of this would have happened. But I didn't. I let convenience win over instinct. I let her happiness in the moment blind me to the danger. And I'll live with that forever. Emily's in therapy now. I am too. She doesn't talk about Mike much, which the counselor says is normal. Sometimes, though, I catch her looking at the garage door like she's remembering something. And every time, my chest tightens until I can barely breathe. I don't know if I'm posting this for advice, or as a warning. So if you're a parent, and your gut tells you something's wrong, listen. Be the paranoid one. Be the overprotective one. Be whatever you have to be. Because the alternative is waking up to an empty bed. And that's a nightmare you don't ever wake up from. Edit, for everyone asking, yes, he's still in custody. Yes, we have a restraining order now. Yes, the school has completely overhauled their volunteer policy. But none of that changes what happened.